strategy.
Yeah.
So I told you the bull chef already, right?
No.
Okay.
So time filter.
Time filter, points filter,
Points, yeah.
and the quantity filter. So let me start from the beginning.
Okay.
A few years ago, we had this guest at a Platt meeting who's probably going to be here this weekend, Dean Graziosi. So he was a speaker at Jeff's event and at Jeff's at the mastermind. And at the time his business was doing 120 million a year. So basically Jeff interviewed him on like how were you able to grow your business to be so big, because it's an info product business. So it was interesting, right? And one of the things that Dean said was, well, I consider my life to be like a bookshelf, and every project is a book. So what we tend to do when we are entrepreneurs is we fill the bookshelf and we're like, hey, here's a new book, let's just like slide it to the top and then they put it like that. So at the end you have a bookshelf that's so crammed that it's practically bursting and you're overwhelmed, you're frustrated, and nothing's moving forward. So what he said is, when I have a new project that wants to get onto my bookshelf, I look at that book, but I don't decide based on this book. I have a look at the rest of my bookshelf and I'm like, which other book should I take out so I can put this one in? And I felt, oh, this is such a great principle and analogy. I should do that. So I went back home and I did what we usually do in these situations, which is nothing.
It's so tempting because it's so...
2 years later, I'm attending I'm attending Brian Kurtz's boardroom dinner. So there's like 14 high-level people, and I'm like the little fly in the wall, thinking I don't know why I'm here, but I'm glad I'm here. So there was Richard Rossi, who does like events with 40,000 youths, teaching them like how to live, and Russell Brunson was there, and he had just started ClickFunnels, and this like amazing roster of people, and one of them was Dean Graziosi. And at the time Dean was doing 200 million a year. So the principle of a boardroom dinner is you have people share one at a time, and there's also just like a single table conversation. You don't have side conversations. When it came to be Dean's turn to speak, the question was, well, Dean, you grew your business from 120 to 200 million in such a short time, and at the same time he was saying he was spending more time with his kids, so like, how did you do it? And he's like, well, I consider my life to be like a bookshelf. I'm like, I've heard this before. And he explains the whole thing again, and I'm like, okay. Within those 2 years, he went from 120 to 200, and I went from overwhelmed to overwhelmed. So maybe I need to actually do this. So what I decided is I made a list that I called my bookshelf, and I listed all of the projects that I was committed to, and like all of those big items. So my next book, I want to create a new training program for the team. I want to grow the sales team. I want to, at the time I wanted to translate my other work into Portuguese. So all of those big projects.
All those ones sitting there.
Yeah. And I'm like...
And did you include other life projects?
No, just business. It doesn't work for life projects, like I want to live in...
Yeah.
No.
Yeah,
These
not
go to the
fitness
bucket
ones,
list,
not-
not business ones, just business projects.
Take it like 5 minutes.
So I made the list and I had 39 items on it.
I could see myself having 39.
And you know what's interesting is as you think, you're like, oh, I forgot one, and I forgot one, and I forgot one. Like the next week you add one if you're really being transparent.
Yeah.
And you also can't lie to yourself by having
Cluster them like a sub-project. Or,
exactly. You can't
no,
put
no, this is my
a
book,
suitcase
1, 2,
instead of a
3.
book. It's like, well, writing is a project. Well,
Yeah.
but what are you gonna write?
Yeah.
Let's just be clear.
Books A to Z.
Yes.
Yeah.
So 39. I decided, okay, what would make me not overwhelmed? What's like my target? My target was 12. So instead of being crazy and saying I'm gonna just delete the whole list and go to 12, which would not work.
Yeah, because I can sometimes do slash and burn, but then they just sneak
But then
back
they
in.
exactly.
Da-da-da-da.
So I said, what I'm gonna do is every month I make the list again, and my goal is every month to have removed one item. Fairly simple, right? So either I've done a project, it's finished,
Gonna ask the criteria
gets
for what
out.
is removed. Yeah.
or I decide I no longer want to do it, I take it out, so that the list shrinks over time. The goal being to get to 12. Now the question is, what do I do if I have a new project? Now I need to consider what's already there, because in order to put one in there, I have to take 2 out. To take 1 out to put this one, but since the list also has to be shrinking, I also need to be taking another one out anyway. But then the trick is most people would start a juggling game. Like, it's 30 in the list, but I'm gonna add this one, take 2 out, add another one next month, and then it's just musical chairs. So I added a time filter. If I'm considering a project now, I don't decide, because I only have 2 times in the year where I'm deciding. And they are my birthday and my half birthday. So end of March, end of September.
Nice. So it's been like I've started having this wait list just to say yes to
Exactly.
things.
So you just
even make it much longer and make wait lists for projects.
it's a
If
wait list
valid.
until the like assessment date, which is really interesting because now you will have 3 types of ideas that show up. Projects that if you don't decide before, say, your birthday and half birthday, okay? So if you don't decide before the next assessment date, it's too late.
It's like they've expired.
Yeah. Well, that's good. I don't want to do any of those, right? Because they would be
you
like
would have been
one-off
fitting
things. So if it's like someone that's offering to partner with us and I have to decide now, or else it's like you'll never hear of me again, then well, I won't hear about you again. It's fine. Second is, what if you have a project where you could wait to decide, let's say for me, until the end of March, but then the thing has to happen first week of April.
Okay.
That sucks, because then when you're making the decision, you're back into urgency mode. So part of my time filter is I only decide at the next date, which is half birthday or half birthday, and I can only accept a project if it happens after the following date.
Yeah.
So if I have at least a 6-month runway. So basically I decide in March on projects that cannot start before end of September. And that already creates a lot of freedom.
So these control gates of what gets in and out.
It's like, hey, Sebastian, want to speak next week? No. Well, I'm not saying no, but I'm going to decide on the March 29th.
I like that. Because then else calms the brain part that doesn't want to go, "No, I could, the decision will make."
Exactly. So it solves the problem. And then the last filter is the points filter. So I have a series of questions when I'm evaluating on that day that help me say, well, am I going to do this, or is this one of those good ideas that I just have to put in a drawer or somewhere?
To go, the not now. It could go into the not now drawer.
Yeah. Which over time you learn that not now is just no, so you just learn to delete them. But initially it's reassuring to have a not now.
It's the drawer on the way to the dustbin.
Yeah, exactly. Some people call it the round storage bin, like a cylindrical storage bin.
I love that.
Merci d'avoir suivi cet épisode jusqu'au bout. Pour avoir des compléments aux épisodes que je publie de mes podcasts audio et vidéo, je vous encourage à aller sur entrepreneurlibre.com/blog. Sur mon blog, je partage des articles de fond, mais aussi de nombreuses réponses aux questions de mes abonnés, des internautes et des futurs entrepreneurs libres comme vous. Donc si vous allez simplement sur le blog entrepreneurlibre.com/blog, vous pourrez retrouver l'ensemble de mes contenus ainsi que les articles de fond et vous abonner pour recevoir l'ensemble gratuitement.